Hey guys, let's pull our Workbee apart. In this episode we will disassemble our Workbee ready to upgrade to the Queenbee XYZ Linear Rail Kit. Start off by removing your spindle or router depending on what you have. In my case, I have to start by removing my spindle cable, then water cooling lines. Have a towel ready. Then it's just a matter of loosening my spindle mounts and sliding it out. Next, we want to remove our Z-stepper motor. If you're like me and like to solder your motor wires in, grab some clippers and pop this off. Then loosen the set screws and the outer M3s on the motor end of the coupler. Once this is done, you can unscrew your motor. While we're here, let's unscrew our drag chain mounts. Onto the side of the machine, pop off your end stop, and let's remove our X lead screw first. Loosen the coupler at the X motor end, then loosen the locking collar. Your bearings may be slightly different if you don't have the tingle tensioning system, but it should be more or less the same. Once you have loosened this, move over to the inside locking collar. Now to the other side of the X, let's loosen both locking collars inside and out. And then take our thrust bearing off so that we don't lose it. Put all of the lead screw components into a ziplock so that we can keep track of them, as we will need to use them when we start the install. Once they are all loose, you can move your gantry over and take off the remaining bearings and locking collars. Then start unthreading the lead screw. If you're having trouble removing the lead screw, loosen the bolts to the nut blocks at the back of the gantry. While you're here, you can clip off the wires going to the Z end stop. Now things should thread out smoothly. Make sure you don't drop any of the bearings or locking collars. Okay, now we are free to remove our X C-Beam with the gantry still attached. Take all the bolts out except one from each side so that you can hang it on that while you remove it. Then remove the angled brackets. These have nylock nuts on one end and an M5 screw on the other. We can repeat the same process on the other side. Now support the C-beam with your third hand while you remove the last two bolts. Now let's take off our 40-20. This is just 2 screws on each side. With the machine set aside onto the X-Gantry, loosen and remove your angled brackets from each end, then slide your Z assembly all the way off. We can now tear down our Z assembly. Loosen the bottom locking collar and remove the 4 screws holding the bottom plate in. Remove the locking collar and bearing and place them in your ziplock. You can now turn the lead screw and slowly separate the C-beam from the V-wheels. We need to unmarry the 2 plates. Using the through holes, remove the 8 screws and 8 nylock nuts. Onto the X assembly, unscrew the screws going through the V-wheels, then separate the plates and place all these parts into a large Ziploc bag or container. We will be reusing a lot of these spacers and screws. Lastly, remove the Delrin nut block from both ends, and if you like, your cable chain mount. And don't forget your Z end stop. Now onto the Y lead screws. Again, yours may be different, but for me it is loosen both of my locking collars, then remove my thrust bearings. Then to the back of the machine, loosening the two M3s in the coupler and the set screw on the lead screw. Now the rear locking collar and the inside locking collar. To make it easier, loosen the bolts going to your Delrin nut blocks. And thread the lead screw out. My locking collar needed a bit of persuading here, but it did come loose. Now we can drop our Y plates. Start by loosening all of the V-wheels top and bottom, then pull the plates apart, picking up the pieces and placing them in your Ziploc bag. For the sake of the length of this video, pause here and repeat the exact same steps on the other side of the machine. Now that we have the Y plates removed, we need to remove our Delrin nut blocks. 2 screws on each nut block, and then place these in your bag as well. And that's it. We have a torn down Workbee ready for the CNC 3D Queenbee XYZ Linear Rail Kit. Check out our build video for where to go from here. I want to give another shout out to CNC 3D for supplying us with this upgrade kit.